Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. Today, we're being joined by P.T. Muldoon, author of The Grass Cathedral. P.T., welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me on, Paul. I really appreciate it.
Are you ready to get started?
Yes, I am.
All right, question number 1. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
Take your time. My early book, this is my fourth book. The early ones I tended to be in a rush, and now I spend a lot more time. Print them out, take a look at them, even have a couple people take a look and read them and garner some other opinions. Just patience. There's not a rush to getting the first one out there. And the more time that you take and the more comfortable you get with the process, I think the better a job you can do.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
You know, if you're independent and you're on your own, it's really getting the word out. And it just takes, like anything else, you've got to do the hard work. I mean, you've got to talk about the book. You've got to go out to places where you're going to find people who are going to have interest. Use the tools on social media. Go to bookstores, talk to other authors, and it's not, you're not going to publish it and it's just going to take off. You got to do all the heavy lifting that goes along with it.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
Yeah. So what I've done is I've got my own writer's page, and I've kind of built up a following. I've got about 12,000 people on there. And some of those folks are influencers. Some of them are other authors, and I try to be very supportive of their work at the same time. And by having an opportunity to talk about, when the book's coming out or when it's going to be there, what it's going to be about, and getting on other people's pages, I found it's a really good tool to reach people that I wouldn't normally reach. And so really kind of putting the marketing approach I take is, I don't say no to any opportunity to chat with somebody who may be a fellow author or somebody who runs a library or runs a book club. I found a lot of opportunities to go talk about my book and do readings locally, and I found a lot of tools through that, and a lot of people who are very interested in making these successful.
Well, you mentioned about your following, so I'm assuming we're referring to a blog here. Is that correct?
It's more of I've got a writer's page, and I use Facebook. I've had a lot of success with having a good, strong following on Facebook, and they have allowed me, because it's a writer's page, I can put links to where people can find my work, and it gives me a chance to interact. People give me comments back, good and bad, and it's a chance to really kind of interact with people who are reading my work.
So how is a writer's page different on social media? Because you always hear about groups and different types of pages. So how is a writer's page different?
So it really opens up, at least the way mine is structured. I'm not the only one who's talking, so other people can post there. And so I find that there's really a chance for some give and take, and I can share the whole process with people there and kind of get their input. And I actually have other authors that share what they're doing there. So, I found that there are a couple different mediums where if I'm the only one doing the talking, I don't think I can build a good fan base. I think people really want to feel genuinely involved in the process and have an opportunity to speak and have their voice heard.
Now, is this writer's page considered a Facebook group, or what is it actually considered?
It's called a business page on Facebook, and it was another good friend of mine who's a writer that suggested it, and it's really been good. It's really been positive results for me.
And how have you built that audience up to that point? Because you mentioned 12,000 people, correct?
Yeah, and it's just, I shared little glimpses of the work as it was going on, talked a lot about, as the books were coming together, and it just kind of built organically by letting other people in, and by sharing those posts on other people's writers' pages. It really just kind of built up all on its own. I didn't have to spend any money advertising, although you certainly can do that, and you can ramp it up a lot quicker if you do that. But I really wanted my target audience to be people who had a genuine interest in the work and in the process, and so I just kind of let it build on its own. It took about 3 years to get to that level.
Well, and that's the other thing I wanted to ask. So what year did you actually start this page?
So my whole motivation behind my writing may be a little bit different than some other people might. I started writing because my father got Parkinson's, and I was one of his caregivers, and we got to spend a lot of time, and it kind of became, one of the few things that he could do as he lost his physical abilities. And so he really wanted me to publish, and he really wanted me to write books and to, kind of take this where it could go. So my motivation wasn't necessarily to see how many books I could sell. It was to kind of open up this forum and have an opportunity to share my work, see other people's work, and share the story.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned that is too because right now with the way social media is structured, it is harder than ever to build that organic following. So it's such a great thing that you have built over time and consistency, building that page to that level.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I've met a lot of really neat people, and I've gotten a lot of insight, from other publishers, editors. I mean, because they're free to share and drop you a note, and kind of share in the process. If you're not afraid to kind of put yourself out there and accept the criticism and kind of grow from it, people really feel like they're part of it if you share that. If you're willing to let them in and to let them have a voice, occasionally you get somebody who you kind of got to manage, but by and large, it's been a really positive experience.
Well, speaking of books, I'd like to ask, what is your favorite book, and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Yeah, my favorite book in terms of another author, or one that I've actually put out there myself.
Another author.
So there's a book called Bob Fudge. It's an older book that was written a long time ago about one of the last cowboys from Montana. It's just a small paperback book, and it kind of acquired a cult following. Ian Tyson, the singer and songwriter, is the one that he kind of made it famous in a song, and it's kind of a biography of this guy that was done by a local historian in the town where he grew up, and it was just so grassroots in its nature. It was never intended to be this gigantic commercial success that it became. It's just a really cool little book that's got a really strong following.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
My favorite quote, it's fun to do the impossible, by Walt Disney. It's, this whole process for me has just been an opportunity to interact with a lot of different people. I mean, this is my fourth book. I'm working on the fifth. I'm actually working on a novel now. And so, it's fun to take on things that, at first glance you think, that probably is out of reach. What I've really learned is that if you're really willing to take things on, there's plenty of people out there that are willing to help you, encourage you, and that's why I love the quote. It's fun to do the impossible. I mean, he took on projects that had never been done, purely out of his imagination, and he made them a reality. And I think that's one of the coolest things about this new medium for us, from the self-publishing standpoint, is there's an opportunity for everyone to really have their voice heard. And whether your goal is to be commercially successful, or whether just to get your work out there, or whether just to have a record of it, I encourage everybody to really kind of engage in it. It's a lot of fun. It's been a very positive experience.
Well, PT, I want to thank you for being a guest on the show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
So my writer's page is at PT Muldoon Poetry. That'll take you right there. And, I encourage people to go there, leave me comments, share their work, tell their story. All comers are welcome. It's really a place for people who are doing this together and to enjoy one another's work. So,
well, PT, thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for taking the time and giving me an opportunity to talk to your following. I really enjoyed watching some of your shows, and I'm really just excited to be a part of it. Thank you so much for including me.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how you can be featured in our brand new Get Published business book, go to getpublishedpodcast.com.